Ed from Pinball Mayhem here. We're still working on Berzerk Frenzy and want to do a little bit of a different side of the project. I want to talk about the electronics a little bit. I am putting the J-Rock Berzerk Frenzy. It's a Jamma board in there, so I'm going to no longer be running the initial internal boards. This is going to give me Berzerk and Frenzy, and I believe it's like a fast shooting Berzerk. So this is, it's all in one, but it's Jamma, so it's completely different connections. If your original harnesses are right, you can actually use a Jamma connection and wire that into the original harness. Now my harness, I'm going to see what I'm going to do on that side, but I still need the Jamma connection. I'm probably going to end up just rewiring the whole cabinet with this bad boy. The Jamma connection, notice, has a key here. I want to talk a little bit. This did come from arcadeshop.com. I had to get on a waiting list to get it. Kind of mentioned that in one of my earlier videos. If you're interested in doing this, when you see these available, get them. This, I picked it up on Amazon. It was like 10-15 bucks. Now, I've bought some other cheap ones before, and this one's not too bad. It did come with, I thought it came with a ground wire. Maybe didn't. Bundled up in here somewhere. Comes with some other connectors. I haven't even unbundled it yet. Not important. So, some decent weight wires. One thing I like is this actually was labeled. So I bought some that were not labeled with what is what, and so that kind of gets really annoying from side to side. You can look it up and print out what it should be. And of course, all these wires are not going to be used for every game. But I do plan on wiring up my coin door and getting it as complete as possible. I like to see everything working. But one thing that does bother me about this, that kind of sucks, the key. So if this can plug in either direction with the way it's wired up now, that's bad. You want the key to always line up with the key. And so if I plugged it in this way and turn it on, I'd fry this board. Another note about this board only needs 5 volts. This one has provisions for -5.5 ground. So those other ones are just not used on the board. So I'm only using 5 volts and ground on here. So I wanna actually add a key to this. And I think there's some official keys that can pop in here. I don't have those. I just got kind of the tools and parts we have laying around. So I found a piece of plastic. This is left over from when I make PETG, from when I make plastics for a pinball. So I mean, this little scrap should be able to cut something off here to work. And this also cuts pretty easy with scissors. Now this is a little tool, don't know if it's hard to see. Part number is hard to see. It's a little tool that I bought from one of the electronic suppliers. It's for actually separating the pins out of these things. Now it's just a metal blade that goes back. It's a little thinner. The crappy part is this metal blade. If you have to push on something, an older stuck-in connector, I end up wrapping this with electrical tape and went over the end a few times and put a shooter rod on the end so I can palm it without pressing in my hands. I want to take these keys out. First thing I'm going to do is, and that slips, there's a little spot here where it's going to slip through. So I'm going to take the key, I'm going to pop both those off. Little press, and should just use a pair of pliers that has a little bit of grip on it. There, that's the pin, that's the key out. I'll throw this in the board, in the bin if I ever need one again. I can do the same for the other side. So, I mean, they call it key on there. It's supposed to be a key. You don't need it to be a key for electrical function, but always key your connections. So that's kind of what the pin looks like. So when you're trying to get in there and clean it, that's what you're trying to clean. Of course, I could use a used connector in here. I don't want to. I want to use something brand new. I want this to work good. So I want to cut a piece of plastic that's going to slide in there. Actually pretty close to this point. Now, cool thing about this thin PETG is you can cut it with scissors. So I'm just going to simply I'm going to cut something that fits pretty close. I'm going to glue it in with some super glue. Sounds cheesy, but you know what? If it works and it saves me from potentially burning out my board, it's going to be worth it. The other thing about this stuff is you can cold bend it without damaging. Huh. Now I did check this width on that board, but I am not unhappy with that fit. And so I am going to find a pencil, mark it about where it is, cut it short. I have a file here handy in case I wanted to file it, but if it's fitting tight, don't mess with it. Take the clear protective coating off. Don't lose my orientation because it seems to kind of fit in one way better than the other. And if you're placing an order, it's worth the extra. I'd say it's worth the extra couple bucks to get a keyed one. Just save yourself this trouble. I was focusing just on the labeling and made a mistake. So rather than ordering a new one or throwing out a potentially good one, let's see, how does that fit? Pretty good. A little bit long. Just cut it down one more time. I want it to be flush with the bottom of the connector or in more. There, perfect. Now, before I glue it in, I'm going to test it on the board. Make sure it doesn't bind. I think that works great. Probably could use weld-on for this too. But the truth of the matter is, it's not under a lot of stress. Now the one thing I want to say is when I'm doing this, I want to be careful not to get it on those pins. Just get a little bit, a nice thin glue will actually capillary action down in. So I mean, all I want to do is keep this from falling out. There's no force on it. It's not going to stick to the board. And that's it. So, didn't take long. Just use some scrap plastic I had around. You can see the key still lines up with the key. There's no wires attached. I'm not going to plug that board back in right now because I don't want to risk accidentally gluing the board in. It's flush with the bottom. It even says part side and solder side, so it gives you a few keys to know that you're the right way. That's going to plug into there. So, yeah, making a key for my Jamma connection. Let's see what else we have in here. We have some connectors. I'll have to take this apart later when it gets time to wear it. I don't want to make a mess right now. So, yeah, I'll spent 7 minutes on keying this bad boy. I'm going to put this all back, wrap it all together, put it on the side, and it's going to be ready for me when my cabinet is painted and I start rewiring it. So, thank you for watching. Make sure to check out the rest of the videos, and there'll be more to come.